Hey viewers, welcome to a review of last week's stop motion battle between the forces of the Astra Militarum and a hodgepodge of Chaos and the Adeptus Mechanicus. So at this stage I haven't actually worked out the storyline segment for the battle. I'm about to work out a little narrative section and then we'll get into it. So this is the deployment that we're going to have. We've got units of the Imperial Guard up around the back. We've got, say, a heavy bolter crew up the back there, some mortars, sanctioned psychers. We've got the Titan obviously, and a couple of super heavies. We've got the Sentinels in the middle. Not a lot of cover in the middle, so someone's going to wear some damage. It depends on who gets the jump on them. But there's a little bit of cover with these towers and a lot of little trenches and things like that for people to sort of navigate their way through. So that'll be interesting. On this side we've got a lot of las cannon crews. We've got Stormlord full to the brim of guardsmen, and that's about it that I want to talk about. Over this side we've got a lot of our units which have demons inserted in them, because the storyline here is the Adeptus Mechanicus are obviously tainted by spending too much time on the sunny shores of the demon world of Periculo, and they have got demons infiltrating their ranks. So these are the demon, this is the side of the demons here. Not a lot of cover really at this stage, and I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos that this board's a little bit narrow, so we'll see how it actually works out. But anyway, that's the deployment, and we've got guardsmen in the Stormlord and some deep striking demons to hit the ground later on. So there we have it. That's the end of deployment. Let's see what happens in turn one. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn one, and the Astra Militarum got the jump on the Chaos and Admech forces. What we had here is we had this large unit of guardsmen which were just standing in formation just here. Just came around the corner here and opened fire into these Skitari. Are they Skitari? I think so. Just sitting around that corner. Likewise, this group over here did the same, poked its head round. We had the HQ unit with, geez, I'm bad with the names, Commander Krell is it, and his standard bearer, just basically coming up the rear, fired and took out two there. We've got these mortars sitting down here, fired over here and just clattered off the armour over this side. The Titan shimmied its way forward to a position and fired upon this Lord of Skulls. I need to do some work on the names. I'm losing the plot a bit. Anyway, we had some bolter units around the side, heavy bolters. They came round and didn't do anything, just sort of wheeling around. Baneblade fired and didn't do anything, or damaged things, but just didn't kill anybody. Stormlord firing into this area, took out a couple. We couldn't get any firing happening here because they just couldn't get a clear shot, so that was that. A couple of units here were taken out as well with the Vulcan heavy bolter or something, whatever it's called. That gun there, it shoots about 60 dice, and taking out 3. Anyway, moving over this side of the board, we had the combined firepower of las cannons, just basically taking out 1 here. These guys here and the las cannons over here took out 2, and the mortar unit up the back there didn't do any damage, just clattered off the armour. These guys down here, the breaches. So we've got a few casualties on the Admech and the Chaos side. Not much else. So I'm trying to change the way I'm doing it. I'm taking hopefully the best parts of each series that I've done. So what I'm doing is I've got a movement phase where I have the camera up, say at this angle here, probably back a little bit further, where you can get a good view of the board. And then when it comes into the actual shooting phase, I have a second lens that probably comes in about this range, about here, when they sort of do a small bit of movement to see that they're actually moving, and then they fire on things. And I even might do the shimmying across the board. Sort of sometimes that makes my eyes hurt when I do that, so I might not do so much of that. And then right at the end, I still like those comic strip sections, so I'll just like zoom in on one guy and he'll say something, bit of narrative section. So anyway, I'm just playing with the format a little bit. Hopefully it's working. We've got the second half of turn 1 coming up shortly. Here we are at the end of turn 1 now. Chaos and the Admech forces have had their turn, and you'll have to bear with me. In last week's video I've just changed my glasses I use, so some of the pictures might be a little bit blurry. They look fine to me, but you know, when I look at them in the actual battle, when I'm editing, they kind of look a bit too far beyond my editing techniques to repair. Anyway, hopefully it looks alright. Anyway, back to the battle. Let's start over this side of the board. We had a group of guardsmen stuck in this channel here, and they were fired upon by this group back here, and the breaches here as well. So they've advanced and fired and took out a whole heap. The Storm Lord got fired upon by Lord of Skulls just there and got followed up and assaulted just here. Still remaining intact, relatively in good condition considering what's being fired on it. Here with this unit, using that bunker as cover, took out 2 guardsmen in the front there. Over this side we had these 2 units fire upon the Titan, who's taking quite a lot of fire at this stage, but everything's holding intact. It's going to take a few more shots for that to come down. The Titan also took a couple of shots from these 2 guys here. And then over this side we had all that basically fire into this mob of guardsmen and took out about half. It was followed up and assaulted by these Skitari here. So there's over half the model gone now. So no doubt that'll be in control of the Chaos and Admech forces. So that's really it. We've got a bunch of casualties on this side, guardsmen and guardsmen over there, and some wounds to the Titan. But we've got the Baneblade at the back there. It's going to start mashing some things, so it could go any way. That's only the end of turn 1, so a lot of casualties. That's because we've got the narrower board, so everyone will start to thin out shortly once we get into turn 2. Okay, turn 2 coming up shortly. Right, first half of turn 2, and normally it takes a little while to get the battles going, but it's fully engaged at this stage. Imperial Guard on this side, heavy weapon units, las cannons fired into the Lord of Skulls. It's probably one of the main heavy, super heavy left on the table for the Chaos side. It took some mortar fire there. This unit of guardsmen fired into this unit here and took out 1 breacher. The Lord of Skulls took fire from all those las cannons there, but still going. These 2 groups here, 1, 2 with the sentinels, took out this unit here. Not looking good for the Admech. Our Stormlord plundered across the table, sat right on that crater there and vaporised that unit just there, and then it bat out a whole stack of guardsmen, and a couple of, actually 4 Adeptus Mechanicus were taken out. So Astra Militarum taking over that side of the board fairly strongly. Over this side we had Baneblade, which is still pretty well intact. Took out the Lord of Skulls. It also took fire from the Titan there, and also actually the Baneblade took out the Strider just there. So either way, both those units down. More guardsmen advancing across the board with some heavy bolter units up the back. Fired and took out 4 in the front there. Then over this side, this unit of guardsmen came around the corner and took out the Dune Crawler there. Lots of heavy weapons, rocket missile launchers, grenade launchers, sorry, and melter weapons in that. Over this side, this unit was engaged with the Scutari here. They basically withdrew into this area here, allowing mortar shells, sanctioned psychers and the HQ unit to clean up the squad. A little tactical move there. So that's looking pretty strong for the Astra Militarum. It's only turn 2, so it's almost looking like it's all over. But in saying that, everything's on the board for the Astra Militarum at this stage, and we have all this come out for the Chaos side. So we've got Demon Prince and 3 Bloodthirsters. So a Bloodthirster in amongst all that, they'll just create all sorts of damage. So we'll have to wait and see how they respond. Can Chaos and the Adeptus Mechanicus come back? We'll wait and see. Second half of turn 2 coming up shortly. Okay, here we are at the end of turn 2, and I must admit I'm enjoying making these a lot more, especially this battle. I'm going back to the old roots from my earlier battles, where apart from doing my top view where we do our movement and everyone moves around, I'm sort of panning around the table, actually get to see what's going on. I've found that when I've done the aerial view and just the comic strips, you can't really see what's going on at different times. Having the view like at this level gets to see just another dimension to the battle. Anyway, just a side thought there before I get into what's happened in the last half of turn 2. So over this side of the board we had the Cannon of Khorne take out some mortar crews over there. The rest of these guardsmen are cowering inside this building here as the Adeptus Mechanicus strut across the board. These guys here, both those units, fired upon the unit of guardsmen there, taking about half of it. The Demon Engine here charged into the Titan, and that's a ongoing titanic battle between those two, which could cause decide the fate of this battle. We had a Bloodthirster touchdown deep strike just here, ready to cause some mayhem, and our unit of Vanguard here marching across the board, minced a whole heap of guardsmen just there, vaporising them. Our Tech Priest up top here fired and took out 1 bolter unit on the side, heavy bolter unit. Moving across the board, another Bloodthirster touchdown over here, licking his lips, looking at all those guardsmen there, ready to sort of chew down on those. With the touchdown of the Bloodthirster, our other unit of Vanguard here with a couple of demons charged into combat, took out 5, lost a whole heap of Vanguard on their side. The only survivors were the 2 demons, so they couldn't help themselves. They had to charge in and take on that. We'll see what happens there next. Over here we had the Lord of Skulls wheel its way into the back of the Stormlord and take it out. Yarrick definitely jumped off the side there, surviving the fall. So this Lord of Skulls is heavily wounded, but enough to take out the Stormlord. Moving up here, we had a Demon Prince touchdown behind enemy lines back here. Didn't really do anything, it's fairly exposed, a good bit of bait. So these units are going to decide to take out that or take out that. Decisions. Over here we had the Hound Karnak, I think it's Karnak, and some breaches. Basically wheel their way into combat here, and it took out a whole heap of guardsmen. And there's one casualty on the Adeptus Mechanicus side. So that battle is ongoing. So there we have it, fairly even I suppose across the board. Still got a lurking Baneblade in the middle for the Astra Militarum, so that's no doubt going to cause some difficulty, but we've still got some untouched Bloodthirsters ready to cause some grief, and there's actually one more still sitting in reserve. Should come out next turn. Anyway, that's what we've got. That's the end of turn 2. Turn 3 coming up shortly. Here we are at the first part of turn 3, and the Astra Militarum have taken out some key enemy units. Over this side we've had this group. Oh, hang on for a minute. Just fell over. Up you get. There. There you go. Right, so this unit here took out the Cannon of Corn just there. Around the corner here we had the remaining guardsmen from this unit take out one Strider just there. Still looking pretty bleak for the guardsmen. As soon as these robots start getting in there, smashing these guys to bits, they'll drop like flies. Ongoing, we've got this combat between the Titan and the Demon Engine. That is, looks like it's got a bit more in it still, so we're only turn 3 at the moment, so we'll see who is going to win that. Over this side, the heavy bolter platforms and the remaining guardsmen just came closer together and peppered for Vanguard just there. So that was a bit of a surprise. I thought the Vanguard would just trounce them, but not to be. Over this side we've got a huge pile of guardsmen there, and there were 2 demons, and the 2 demons obviously got taken out just by pure weight of numbers. Over this side we had Las Cannon crew. I think I might have made a mistake in this battle here. I think these guys might have had 2 shots. But anyway, that's what's happened, and one guy got taken out. And the rest of everybody, they didn't go for the Demon Prince at the back there. They had Lance Cannon crew. These guys basically fled away from melee combat. All these guys here, all the Sentinels, Baneblade, everyone fired and finally took out the Lord of Skulls there. So both Lord of Skulls are out, but we've got another Bloodthirster to come in, and we've got 2 unscathed Bloodthirsters. So it might look bleak for Chaos, but those Bloodthirsters can do a lot of damage, especially to those guardsmen. Anyway, that's the end of the first half of turn 3. We'll wait and see what comes up next. Here we are at the end of turn 3, and Chaos are having a lot of fun here, carving into the ranks of the Astra Militarum. Over this side we had this Bloodthirster behind this tower here, cowering just in case the Titan somehow got loose and it was actually going to be fired upon. The engine is still in combat, and it's still ongoing there, so the Bloodthirster took the opportunity to sneak around the back here and close ranks with all that, itching to get close and starting to carve these guys up, but didn't quite make it, so it's going to have to put up with some fire from that group there. Is it enough? Don't know, we'll have to find out. We had a couple of robots advance and charge into this group of guardsmen and took out most of them. Only a commissar and a couple left there, so that was pretty good. Striders here basically got a shot off with the Baneblade, and that Baneblade's still ongoing, but we'll see how long it lasts. Over here we had some Vanguard, the last 3 advance and fire upon that group there, taking out 3 guardsmen, leaving the lone commissar there to, he's got a power fist, so he might do something. And we had our tech priest basically come down here and just clean up all those heavy bolter units. So the Admech are doing pretty good in that area. Over this side, so much glee for the Bloodthirster. Absolutely carved swathes through this mob of guardsmen. They're holding firm though, there's just so many of them. And will they prove too much for the Bloodthirster? Don't know, but the Bloodthirster did a good job there. Whole swag taken out. Over this side, we had the Demon Prince charge in and take out the fleeing unit. So they just got vaporised. And Karnak and Co basically took out the las cannon and heavy mortar crew there. So they've just been vaporised. So Chaos control that. There's still a whole heap of las cannons there, sentinels, baneblade. A lot to go yet in this battle. We're only at the end of turn 3. Okay, we've got turn 4 coming up shortly. Here we are at the start of turn 4, and there's been some heroic moves here and some not heroic moves. Starting in the middle, we had Yarrick and his elite group of bodyguards come here and fire upon the vanguard which were there. One was taken out, and then this commissar with a power fist heroically charged the remaining 2 and cleaned them up. So good job, well done. Moving over this side, we've got the Titan and the Demon Engine still going toe to toe. Demon Engine's on its last wound, absolutely gone. Titan not far behind it, but still looks like the Titan's getting the upper hand there. Over this side, we had this group of guardsmen come close to the Bloodthirster there. One of the guardsmen broke ranks and ran for the hills and was mown down by the commissar at the front. Just as a bit of a storyline side event, I suppose. They fired upon the Bloodthirster and couldn't take it out, so those guys are in for a world of hurt. Over this side we had the commissar and 3 guardsmen flee from the robots, so they're in a bit of trouble as well. Over this side it's faring a little bit better. We had this huge big mob of guardsmen, and they were in combat with this Bloodthirster. They withdrew, allowing the Baneblade to wheel around and vaporise it. Strategic move there. Had a choice to go after this Bloodthirster. That was fired upon by the las cannon crews here, not doing really anything at all to that. Just poor firing, poor rolls. So that Baneblade's looking a little bit exposed now. I mean, the other choice was for the Baneblade to fire upon this Bloodthirster, but then no doubt this one would have probably just gone and cleaned them up. Anyway, over here we've got Sentinels and that group of guardsmen. They wheeled around and took care of the Demon Prince, and that's it on the board. So quite a few casualties on both sides. We've got the second half of turn 4 coming up shortly. Here we are at turn 4 for Chaos, the last half of turn 4, and there's been a few major casualties for the Astra Militarum. We had this Bloodthirster just dive in amongst these guardsmen here and took out a whole bunch at the front, and there's not a lot of heavy weaponry in there really that can do a lot of damage to that, so those guys are in strife, I would say. There was a melee over here between the Titan and the Demon Engine, and the Demon Engine was on like 1 wound and basically didn't want to go toe to toe with the Titan, which is not far behind it, but chose to withdraw and just take a position behind this tower here. Probably going to be a prime target for the Titan next turn, but I guess the idea there is at least, you know, if he was going to die anyway, might as well come out here and take his next move. Otherwise he'll turn and say shoot those guys or something else. Anyway, so in here we had the robots. They were fleeing. Those guardsmen, they just got vaporised. So They got taken out. A couple of striders out here in the middle came around this tower and fired in amongst that mob of guardsmen. They shouldn't be called a mob, but there's just like so many of them. They look pretty orcish anyway, in my mind. Anyway, forget about that. The priest took out the heroic commissar, so he just charged in and took him out. So that was alright. Over this side of the board we had the bloodthirster wielding that giant, big, meaty axe of corn. Sliced the bone blade and that's destroyed. So that was a good move. Still wounded that bloodthirster, and there's still a few las cannons around the place on those sentinels. Over this side there were las cannons here, but they just got assaulted by Karnak and the remaining breacher, is it? Can't remember the name of that guy, but one of those mobile Adeptus Mechanicus things. So they took out the las cannon unit, so they're being a pain. These guys should have died a long time ago, but they just keep marching along the board, taking things out. So these guys are going to have a decision. Bloodthirster, or try and stop these two. Yeah, who knows. Wait and see. That's about it. That's all we have. It's fairly evenly weighted. We've still got a group of guardsmen. We've got a lot still up the back there. We've got Yarrick and his crew still sitting here. There's some melter weaponry there, so they're going to cause some damage. Titan, who knows. We've got 2 turns to go. We've got turn 5 coming up shortly. Here we are at the end of the first half of turn 5, and the Astra Militarum are holding up pretty well. Over this side of the board we had this group of various guardsmen, psychers, etc. withdraw from the combat from the bloodthirster. They're in a bit of trouble, those guys are. Here we had the Titan obviously take the target here out, the demon engine, which is now gone. So that kind of bought Chaos an extra turn by having that demon engine withdraw. It drew the fire of the Titan, which is pretty wounded but still a major threat on the board. We had this group of guardsmen here just assembled behind this little cylinder, little tube there, and it took out one strider just there. Yarrick and his group assaulted the tech priest and took that out. Over this side of the board we had the sentinels assemble their las cannons, try and take out the bloodthirster, but couldn't do it, so they're going to be in some big strife there as that bloodthirster retaliates. Solar Macarius and co basically tried to fire upon this group here and finish it off, but Karnak survived. So Karnak's going to try and chew some bones, get stuck into the guardsmen. We'll see how that rolls. So there we have it. That's the end of first half of turn 5. We've got second half coming up shortly. Well, here we are at the end of turn 5. A little bit of a surprise move from the forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus and Chaos. We had a bloodthirster that was here and could have ran in and taken out all those guys, but chose to charge the Titan. And look, neither one, the Titan's on its last legs basically, so is the bloodthirster, but the idea was there, if we could tie up the Titan for a little bit, then hopefully it won't turn and vaporise something else, like maybe these guys or whoever's left on the board. There's not much. Anyway, we had the robots, Castellan robots, move around the corner here, fire upon this group here, taking out a whole chunk, so they're pretty well cactus anyway. We had the Strider here, just retreat behind this pillar here and fire upon Yarrick's unit, taking out 2. This side of the board we had the Bloodthirster with a mighty big axe charge in and take out 3 sentinels. Bang, bang, bang. Karnak as well charged in and managed to survive, taking out 3 guardsmen, so good move for Chaos there. So we've only got one more turn to go, fairly evenly weighted. We'll see who can pull off a victory in the last turn. Turn 6 for the Astra Militarum, and they've done a pretty good job to finish this battle off. We had Karnak go toe to toe with a bunch of guardsmen, Sol Macarius and Commissar, and finally gave in, so they control that area. But now they're open to an assault by a bloodthirster, so we'll wait and see how that rolls out. This mob guardsmen fired upon the last remaining Strider with the assistance of Yarrick over there, finally taking it out. And on only a couple of wounds, the Titan limps to the line, finally takes out a bloodthirster, so it's fended off two large demonic creatures and managed to survive. So that is going to limp on as far as that goes. Over here we had this group reform here and fire upon the robots and take out the data smith. Can't remember the term for that guy. The guy in the front anyway, he's gone. So the Titan continues to limp on. That's the end of the first half of turn 6. We've got the final turn for Chaos coming up shortly. Well, there we have it. That's the end of turn 6 and our battle. We have an Astra Militarum victory. Let's just have a look at the final moves for the Chaos and Admech sides. Over here we had the two robots try and clean up this group, but there is a Commissar and Creed, I believe, still alive. Didn't get taken out, just holding the line there right at the end. We had, obviously in the middle, the Titan, which is severely wounded but still alive. Fended off a Bloodthirster attack and that Demon Engine. Took that out, so could have gone a completely different way if those heavy axes of Khorne managed to take the Titan down. Could have been easily a Chaos victory, but the Titan was the man or robot of the match. In the middle we've got Yarrick and a couple of guardsmen. Over here we've still got most of our mob of guardsmen. Over this side we had the Bloodthirster charge in and clean up the whole stack of guardsmen here. But true to form, Sol Macarius sitting there, not dying so easily, facing off the greater demon alongside a Commissar and a standard bearer there just waving a flag saying, hey look, we won. So there you go. So that is the end of the battle. I am going to do a bit of a storyline segment, haven't quite worked out the detail yet, so wait and see. But the idea here is the Titan, being severely wounded, limps its way through to the castle of Mithravor. Basically everything's going to culminate around that castle, and then look, there are going to be these ancients, which are obviously going to be creatures of titanic proportions, are going to come out, and this Titan here will probably have a second go, repaired somehow and back into the action. There'll be other Titans which make an appearance, like this one over here, and I've got more that you haven't seen yet, which will come out as the season progresses. Anyway, that's the end of the battle, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. See you next week.